I would like to welcome René Pierre Azria, founder and CEO of Tegris Advisors, to M&A TV. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is great to see you again. Tell us about your company and what you're working on, what you're most excited about right now.
We do primarily cross-border mergers and acquisitions, and we do it for US companies, we do it for European companies, and we do it for some of the large entrepreneurs. We tend to do larger transactions rather than smaller transactions. And part of the reason for that is that on larger transactions, financing is easier than on smaller transactions. And it's the basis, right? I mean, that's where the money is.
Many people are concluding that cross-border M&A transactions and activity is really on track for a record year. Would you agree with that? And if so, what would you say is behind the surge?
I think it is. Not for normal reasons, actually. I think that what we have seen this year is an abnormally large number of very large transactions. As you know, there is this whole tax inversion trend, the number of medium-sized transactions is smaller than usual. The transactions between, let's say, 1 billion and 10 billion. And then there are the usual number of smaller transactions, which do not impact the overall figure that much. They may represent 10% of the overall figure. So tax inversions have played a big role, but I think the reason why this is here to stay is that there is a differential of growth between the US and the rest of the world. And the Europeans are betting on the US economy to grow at a faster and steadier rate than the European economy. And so they want to be buying assets here. And in terms of country risk, it's easier to invest money here than to invest money in emerging markets. So boards are more comfortable with that kind of investment.
What makes all of these transactions more complicated is the differing antitrust laws from country to country to country. What do you have to say about that? What is so important to keep in mind when you're bringing a transaction together and you've got so many different countries coming together on a deal?
You're right. What is interesting is that transactions that I thought could not be done have been done. And the reason is that the two parties up front recognize that they are going to have to part with large assets or a large number of assets. There was this large cement deal in Europe between Swiss company Holcim and Lafarge, a French company. The merger of these two was something that had been off the board for everybody because of the overlaps and their major market shares in a number of countries. But the fact that you can negotiate with each country makes actually those transactions possible. What it means is that it takes a year to do or 2 years to do instead of taking 6 months. And lawyers do a great job at it. Where there is a problem is that we still do not understand how China reacts or acts in the antitrust field. It seems to be much more ideologically driven than driven by laws and regulations.
So that takes a lot of patience, a lot of time, and a lot of lawyers digging in deep.
Yes, it takes a lot of hand-holding to the teams who lose patience and lose courage and so on and so forth. It takes a lot of stamina.
René Pierre, always a pleasure to have you here on M&A TV. Great to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us.